And Tom, welcome to our meeting today and take her away.
Well, thank you, Governor Bruce. And that was a fantastic introduction. And it really is an honor to be here with all of you. And thank you for the warm welcoming. I feel like I belong in 5610 now. So it seems like you guys are doing everything right with the foundation, the companion clubs, 34 to Calgary. I know Governor Bruce is going to Istanbul. But what he wanted me to talk about was a little bit about membership, where we are in membership now and where we're going. And it's interesting. I'm actually at headquarters now in President Stephanie's office right next to the boardroom. And I've been in audit committee meetings all day today, and we'll continue after this call, and then we have them tomorrow. So it's interesting because the membership from the October numbers was given. And if you look at the October numbers from July 1st, we're up 33,000. So it's like, wow, that's great. But if you look at the membership numbers from this year, last time, we're down about 18,000. So let's just talk a little bit about a membership. And I'll go through my slideshow really quickly so that I can get to the part that I like, which is sharing with all of you any answers to any questions you have. So when we talk about membership, we have to ask ourselves, why do we want to grow? So I always think about Rotary.
Recording in progress.
I always think about Rotary as, we do good in the world. And if we have more people doing it, we have more hands and hearts doing service, the world's a better place. So in rough numbers right now, in terms of membership, we're about 1.1 million people. With Rotaract, we're about 1.2 million. With about 36,000 clubs, Rotary clubs, and about 9,000 Rotaract clubs. But if you look at where we've been from the last 10 years, we've kind of been on this downward slide. And the interesting thing is when members come in and when we lose them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through. But I also want to talk a little bit about what Rotary International is doing that could actually help you all as you move forward at 5610 with your membership growth. So I love this picture here. It's Stephanie in the Philippines. She's dedicating 250 houses that were built for individuals who didn't have homes. And it's interesting because everyone joins Rotary for a certain reason. And a lot of people join for service, but most people, we do several surveys, but every year we do an all-member survey, which tells us that the main reason people stay is because of service, because people don't join Rotary to do nothing. They join to do something. And service through our foundation is a big deal. So again, why do we want to grow? Because we want to have more people to do more good in the world. So when it comes to membership, and it was interesting in our audit committee meeting, Director Mick from Japan was stressing the importance of retention. And he's right. We need to engage our members. A lot of folks, especially down the North Carolina East Coast, they think they focus on attraction. And then, like Bruce said, I like to focus on new clubs. But when you think about it and you break it down, there's really only three ways to grow Rotary. We have to attract members. Most of us join because somebody asked us. So we have to bring them into our clubs. That's one way to grow. The second way is we need to engage our members. If we have projects like Bruce was talking about, that's going to get people excited. They're going to stay in Rotary because they're doing exciting things. And the last way we grow Rotary is forming new clubs. Now, you can talk about all different kinds of things. And I love the idea of the companion club. And Bruce is right. That's easier than forming a regular club because you don't need 20 people. You only need 8. And some places around the world, at Rotary International, they call it a satellite club. North Carolina, they call it an impact club. Some people call it a companion club, which means they feel like it's always going to be associated with the parent club and never grow so big that it goes on its own. In my district, our governor calls it a sub club. In England, they have a hub, which is kind of like a hub club. But a rose banner, the name would smell as sweet. But around all of these things, the most important thing is club experience. So club experience actually wraps around all these other areas. I mean, if we have a good club experience, and how do we know it's a good experience? Well, you're doing what most of the, clubs in 5610 are doing. You're growing, you're raising money for the foundation. You're doing good service projects both internationally and locally. Then you have a good club. If their club's not doing so well and you're losing members, not getting people to show up for your socials or your meetings, then maybe you need to change that culture. But when you have a good culture, and how do you know the best way to change it? You could do a survey. So having a good club culture makes it an attractive club. So people want to be a part of it. People not only want to be a part of it, they ask others to join because they want their friends to be a part of it. And when you have a good club experience, you're doing all those projects that engage people. And then, of course, if you're forming a sub club or a companion club, having a good culture in your club will help you do that. So you have those three areas and a club experience. So I wish I can say membership had a silver bullet and you could do one thing and everything would be great and you'd be growing all the time. The reality is you have to have this holistic approach where we work on attraction, engagement, and forming new clubs all at the same time. So I broke this presentation down because Bruce said he wanted me to talk about membership into those three areas. So when I look at it, these are the insights that I believe that we have that can make us grow. So we have an opportunity to grow by attracting more female membership. We only have 26% is our worldwide average, and half of our demographic in most areas, I'm sure it's same in South Dakota, half our potential members are females. So I see that as a big area of growth. The other area of growth is the Leads platform. Right now, Rotary International has a district-wide program. Every district has it where leads come in, and we get a few 100,000 leads every year. And only 10% of them end up going to clubs. Now, sometimes you have a district membership chair and she or he takes all those leads and puts them into her or his own club. Sometimes they don't ever send those leads to other clubs. Sometimes they don't even open up the page to see what leads there are. So why is this going to be a big deal? Because Rotary International is working on a new Leads program, which I'll talk about later, which is going to go straight to the clubs. And we're going to be able to, actually have a better turnover rate of 10% of those leads. And you think about it, there's low hanging fruit of, members who have family members. Well, this is fruit on the ground, these leads, because there are people saying, I want to join Rotary, and we are just failing to connect them with a club. So when it comes to engagement, we have 10% of our members leave in the first year that they join. So they join this year and 10% of them leave before the end of the year. Within the first 3 years, we have over 50% leave. So this engagement is a huge deal because if people come into your club and you can engage them, maybe give them a class project, or maybe have everyone who joins as a member actually be on a committee. Any way we can get them engaged is going to help us keep them. And after 3 years, they're like all of us. They're going to be here on a Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 your time, listening to Rotary. So, we just have to keep them engaged in the beginning. And that's one of the reasons Bruce said, I like to form cause-based clubs. One of the reasons I like to do that is because that cause is actually a magnet that draws them in, but it keeps them involved and helps them stay longer than just 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. When you think about it, most of our clubs now are traditional legacy clubs like the one I belong to. People either work or live within a 10-mile drive of their club. These cause-based clubs, like when we started our first veterans club in the world, people were driving 2.5 hours to come to that meeting, and socials and things like that. Okay. Forming new clubs is the third area. And it's interesting because when we dive deep into the numbers at Rotary, I don't know how many of you went to Zone Institute, but Rotary International President-elect Mario put up a graph, and it was the growth of clubs. And then It was the growth of members in those same areas. Well, the graphs match almost exactly. So long story short, and this is a gross overgeneralization, but if you take the northern hemisphere and you take the southern hemisphere, Rotary is growing in the southern hemisphere, other than Zone 8, which is New Zealand, the Pacific Islands, and Australia. And on the northern hemisphere, including us in North America, we're not growing. But when we really dig into the numbers, it's interesting. The reason North America is not.
Oh,
Hello. Lefty. Mary Devaney, would you mute? Okay, go ahead.
So the reason North America is not growing is because, and it makes sense, we're losing clubs more than we're forming new clubs. The Southern Hemisphere, they're growing because they're starting more clubs than they're losing. So there really is an opportunity to do this. Now, in North America last year, we started just a few hundred clubs. That's it. There's places in the Philippines districts that started that many in one district. And it's interesting because that's 50% or so, I think, is the statistic of districts in North America haven't started a club in the last 5 to 10 years. So we're just not starting a lot of clubs. So if we can get these sub clubs, companion clubs, impact clubs going, then we'll do well. So attracting our members to the Membership Leads program. Right now, we have a computer program that runs out of Rotary International that takes all these leads that are generated and it takes it to the district. And we found out through a little pilot program where we took 5 districts and gave them staff support. The districts that weren't getting anywhere because they feel like they knew a few clubs in the district. Like your assistant governors know their clubs really well, but it's hard, unless you have a governor like Bruce, it's hard to know every single club in your district and which ones are good and what kind of personality or what kind of culture they have so you could put the right people in the right area. So now we've hired a company called Salesforce. It's a very reputable company to come up with a new program, which is almost done now, but it's not going to be rolled out into January because we don't want it to roll out during the holidays because it won't get the staff support it needs. But this new program, this new Membership Leads program, will take those leads and send them to the clubs through a series of questions that they're most likely to fit in based on their area and their interests and what the clubs do. So we think instead of having 10% translation of leads into members, it'll be much higher when we have this new program. So very excited about that. And it's going to be good. So right now, when we bring people in, we were talking about how people leave within 3 years. This is where we, in our existing clubs, can do the retention and do the engagement to keep our members. It's easy to do. You could just do a survey and find out what people like in your clubs. Let's face it, Rotary is like any other business. And if we make our members happy, they're going to stay. If they're not happy, they're just going to walk and go somewhere else. So you can do a simple survey. We have about 7 different assessment tools at Rotary International that you can go to My Rotary and find. But you could do a simple survey that just says, do you like where we meet? Do you like how we meet, in person versus virtual? Do you like meeting in the morning? Do you like our socials? Do you like our service projects? Just getting those answers and actually listening to them and see what the majority says and implementing some of those, that could engage our members. A lot of clubs, they do the same service project year after year after year. We did an interesting thing. We started a few years back a Rotary Community Corps, which is Rotarians working with a group that needs service, and we work together. And what we were doing is helping Afghan refugees when they moved to Minneapolis, finding them homes, finding them jobs, getting them their driver's license, enrolling their kids in school, getting them library cards so that they can have internet so they can look for a job, all these little things, and it wasn't expensive. Each of our clubs has people who are connected. And Rotaries are good connectors. In my club, we have the mayor, we have the school superintendent, we have the librarian. All those people can help do all those things we just said. But the reason I bring this up for attrition is, we thought we were really going to grow 5 clubs we brought together. And the 5 clubs thought they were really going to grow because these Afghan refugees are going to get jobs and then they're going to join Rotary. And some of that did happen. But what we found out was we had a lot of members from the 5 clubs that have started drifting away from Rotary clubs. They weren't coming to the meetings. They weren't coming to the socials. When we started this new service project, a few of those people from each of the clubs came back, and we grew Rotary that way because we kept those people because they wanted to do something different than, just doing the trash cleanup along the highway. It was funny. I was talking to a club last week, and we do the highway cleanup, and we were comparing stories of who found the most interesting things. And I was in a club about 30 minutes north of me. Someone had found a loaded handgun in the highway cleanup. So that was interesting. There's also a new member engagement campaign where it's a drip campaign where when a member joins Rotary, they are going from Rotary International in case we don't have that new member orientation that we should have. It's interesting because we ask these people to join our clubs and they learn about our club. But if there's a conflict or something and they leave our club, they end up leaving Rotary and not just our club because we're not telling them about all the great things that we do. I mean, we have fellowships and action groups. You could ride on the parade in Pasadena on the float. You can go to International Assembly. Even if you're not in the governor track as a paid observer, or go to council and legislation, you could do all these fun things. Wine fellowship, whatever you're interested in, but we never tell people about that. So this drip campaign will tell a little bit to our new Rotarians coming to our club, not only about their club, but what's also going on outside their club. So they'll ask them if they're having a good experience, things like this. And if you ever want to do anything like have a new member orientation, just reach out to us and we can get you information on how to do all that. And then the other thing we talked about before was the assessment. We really hope that you can do an assessment once a year. The reason being is because that culture we talked about, it's changing every year because new people are coming in and other people are leaving. So after a year, your culture might be different. So maybe your current club would want to meet in the morning, but then it changes over time, and some people would like to have a satellite club that meets in the afternoon. So those assessments are pretty important. And why do we want to form new clubs? That's interesting because our clubs are great, and we're reaching a lot of Rotarians. When I was president, I talked to everyone I could that I knew was a good fit. A lot of them joined my club, but after a while, there's only so many people that I could ask, and only so many people that could come to the country club at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning. My wife didn't join my club because she wanted to take our son back then to the bus stop. He just went off to college now, but so these new clubs allow us to let them do Rotary in the way they want to do it. So we have a lot of great clubs, like we said, 36,000 of them, but maybe somebody wants to do something a little bit different. They could be Rotarians too if we form a new club. So these are the big opportunities. Well, Bruce wanted to know where the opportunities are. Really, the leads, we need to make sure that we follow up on the leads that come to our clubs. The engagement, again, is really important, and forming new clubs. And it's always hard in a district to form your first club because there's some resistance, because people think that there's going to be some cannibalization of a current club or more than one club. We got this so often, this question, especially at PETS, that I went to Brian King, who's the head staff person at Rotary International for Membership Development, and I asked him to do a study, and he did a study, and it turned out that 88% of charter members are new to Rotary. So most of the members of a new club are new to Rotary, and that remaining 12%, they may have left anyway. If they left their club for a new club, they might not have been happy in the club they were in. So just certain things to think about. So these are the membership initiatives that Rotary is working on. They're working on the club experience. we're trying to pick some really good breakout sessions for Calgary on membership and how to improve club experience. We're looking at other groups that we can merge with. We're looking at forming new clubs. We're looking at having relationships with other groups, kind of like what we did with, various organizations over time. So now my favorite part of any discussion is answering your questions. So shout them out and I'd be happy to answer.
Well, Tom, I'm going to touch on a couple things just before we start having questions and stuff. But a couple things I wanted to comment on what Tom mentioned when he was talking about how they started that program of helping Afghanistan get into the environment, if you will, and people started coming back because they were doing projects. There is in our zone director this year is from Mexico, and they are getting ready to start a intercountry committee to try and get more projects between the U.S. and Mexico. And so if anything like that interests you or some of the members in your club, let me know. They're doing the signing on December 8th down in Houston, Texas. If you want to go, you're welcome to go. But the important thing about that, though, is they're, again, trying to put the framework in place to get those projects going back and forth. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other one, kind of when Tom was talking about the leads that come from RI, I know some clubs have done it, but if your website for your club doesn't have a button on it that they can push that will take them to a form to fill out that will go directly to the president or the membership chair, you need to do that because Pam Blankensee, our webmaster, can help you put that in place. And so, what you want to do is you want to make it as easy as possible when someone comes to look at your club and say, that looks kind of interesting. All they have to do is press that button to get that process started. So be aware of that. And then the other one, again, kind of things that Tom talked about as far as member engagement. The membership committee has done such a fantastic job of putting some tools in place on our district website. I think one of the crucial things that you need to do when you get a new member is have an orientation and tell them what to expect, not only with your club, with Rotary International and all the opportunities that they have. Well, the membership committee's got a whole section of different orientations that you can utilize to get something put together. You just have to go and use that information. And also, I know in our club, one of the things that they have to do in order to get their badge is they have to join a committee. They have to be engaged. And so I just suggest that as far as all you presidents that are on the call now, to make sure that you are making the opportunities available to get your members engaged. So with that, Nancy, Carmen, looks like you have a question that you'd like to ask.
Not a question, but a comment. As district membership chair, like Bruce said, our committee has worked really hard this last year to develop a 10-step plan. It's 10 steps to membership, club membership. It includes new club development. It includes engaging your members. There's one specifically about club experience. And in each one of those, there are lots of resources. And as club president and membership chairs, you will be getting monthly emails from me highlighting one of those steps each month. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We want to help your club as much as possible. We want to be a resource for you. The other thing I'll touch on, and Tom visited on this, is the membership leads. And just as a more personal on District 5610, we receive between 10 and 20 district membership leads a year, and those all come to me. So I personally review those and contact the appropriate club. And and assign those individuals to that club. So as club president or membership chair, if you receive that email from me or a call or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out or respond to those club membership leads. In some cases, they're individuals who are just seeking more information but really aren't ready to join a club. But in any case, I do want you to be aware that our district is proactive with
Recording stopped.
The other thing on that, Carmen, is that if you do have a lead and they're not ready to join at this point in time, put them on your calendar in 6 months or something and call them back and say, hey, how are things going? Are you interested now? Or what opportunities? And again, to me, this is a great place to have a companion club. In Rapid City now, I can tell somebody they have 3 different times that they can join Rotary, and there's probably a 4th one coming. But we only have 2 clubs. But just those opportunities that'll fit their schedule and not make them fit our schedule.
Absolutely.
What other questions?
And some of these membership leads, when they go to clubs, I've been doing this long enough. I know enough of you have a contact within a club. So I will forward that lead to that club president, and then I reach out to a member individually who indicate that they'll reach out to them. But there's only so much the district can do because we don't have clubs. We don't have members. We have clubs. So we have to refer to you and then do follow up. So it's kind of important that you do follow up on those. And like I said, and then we just showcased the Olympics, and you'll be getting regular emails and shout outs for that. So take a look at it. It's pretty easy. And I suspect each one of your clubs has probably done at least 3 of those to become a gold medal club. And that's what we're looking for, is lots of gold medal clubs.
Thank you. That's good information.
Could you touch on the modules in the Learning Center about new members and how those are structured and what the value of those?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. The Learning Center, Rotary has such good resources, and sometimes we don't do the best job of actually communicating where you can find them. But if you go to Rotary's Learning Center, there's all kinds of courses that you can take on membership. And there's some about attraction. There's some about engagement. There's one about forming new clubs and nurturing them after you form them. And there's always new material coming up. There's also some on club culture and how to make a better club culture, how to make your club attractive. So that's a really good point, Bruce. And a district governor or a membership chair can actually assign to members of their membership committee, the plan. You could call up the Learning Center at Rotary International and have them devise a plan to fit your needs, and then they could take the courses and you can get reports once a month as to who's taken them and who hasn't, if you're interested in doing that.
Once a week.
Well, once a week.
Yeah. The other thing, there are, I believe it's 2 modules in the Learning Center for new members, kind of a new member orientation. And so we've started having our new members actually take those courses as part of the new member orientation. And so I just mentioned that again to you presidents, that could be something that you could include in your orientation. It doesn't take any of your time, but just gives another opportunity for those new members to learn more about Rotary. And because I think that that's something that we need to make sure that new members are aware of. That it's not just a service club, but it's a huge organization that has so many opportunities for them, and they need to learn about that.
Great idea.
What other questions are out there? So I'm making calls to my presidents. I haven't got around to everybody yet, but I am talking about, like Carmen mentioned, the Olympics, that I really feel that it's important that you consider getting a gold medal in that. Again, it's not that difficult. The things that, one of them is to have a membership chair. Well, that's not that difficult. You just need to get somebody to fill that position and work on getting members and putting a new member orientation into place and making sure that your members are engaged and doing things so that they don't lose. It's some of my clubs, again, if you all know, our club, our district was the only district in our zone to have a positive growth in membership last year. And I'd like to see that happen 2 years in a row. And for some of you, it's just a matter of not losing anybody, of making sure that your members are engaged and they're continue to come and don't drop out. That's as important as anything as far as compared, is it easier to keep a member or to find a new one? So, it's to keep an existing member. And so that's part of that engagement process to make sure that they don't leave. All right, enough of me talking. Questions for Tom? Tom, any other words of wisdom?
I think the fact that you're having this meeting and the fact that you're talking about it is so great, because just thinking about it's going to make a big difference. I know as a club president, it's interesting. Your club could have a great year and then it could have a bad year. Well, it really depends a lot on the leadership. And if you're a club president, you can let your clubs know that membership makes everything else easier. It's easier to raise money for the foundation. It's easier to do projects. You have more fun socials when you have more people. So it's worth focusing on. And when you focus on it, your members will be focused on it.
Okay, with that, I will again thank you. And remember, presidents, the reason I wanted you here is that you can take this information back to your clubs, talk to them about how you need to engage your members and things that you can do and the surveys you can take, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you again for being here. If you got any questions, let me know afterwards. And again, Tom, thank you so much for being here and speaking to us today. We appreciate you and all that you do for Rotary. So thank you for that. And so with that, everybody have a great rest of the day and we'll be in touch soon.